Hi everyone, hope you're doing well. This is a video to go over Do Now number 17 for our Regents review. Please make sure you post these pages on Google Classroom for me so you get credit for the classwork. So today's pages are basically just domain and range. So it's something that we've done before, but it's really, really important for the high school. So I wanted to make sure I went over it again. On top one, where the room is over here, I'm just going to write a little bit of notes. So domain, don't forget those are your X values. Okay, and you always read them from left to right. So always read left to right. Okay, then we have our range values. Those are going to be the Y values. And these are always going to read down to up. And that's why the reason you're reading them that way is so you're going to make them in numerical order. So always read down to up. Okay, and then really, really, really important, I kind of already said it, everything always has to be written in numerical order. So always write answers in numerical order. All right, so I think since we have all of that, you can refer back to this as we're doing it, then we will start. All right, so domain, again, is left to right, okay, left to right. So when I start going to the left, the first number I get to is -3. It is an open circle, so not included. As I go to the right, this goes up, but it really goes out. So it's going to be -3 to infinity, but not including -3. So we can write it as x is greater than -3. That's set builder or interval notation, parentheses, -3, infinity, and another parentheses. All right, so range is down to up. So start from the bottom. The first number you hit is 4. Okay, that's a filled in circle. And we keep going to the top. And even though it does stop here, this keeps going. So that goes to infinity. So we're going to have y is greater than or equal to -4, or we can write it this way because we don't know what the Regents is going to have us do. -4 to infinity. Okay, done. 2, domain, left to right. So as you're going, this is continuing to go up this way. As I'm going this way, it is going down. So that's going to be all reals. So you can write that as XER, or you can write it as -infinity to +infinity. And remember, this is all reals that we're doing. Okay, so now for your range, which is down to up, same exact thing, because these are continuing to go down, continue to go up. So again, it's all reals. I'm just going to basically copy this. The only difference is this has to be Y. So be careful. That is Y and not X. So -infinity, +infinity, and still all reals. All right, number 3, left to right, left to right. So as this is going up, it's actually going out. So it's infinity. And we're only going up to the number 3, and it's open circle, so it's not included. Okay, so we have x is less than 3, or -infinity to 3. Notice everything is written in numerical order. Okay, so like you couldn't swap these. -infinity comes before +3. Okay, so have to make sure it's in the right order. Okay, the range is down to up. So we start, the first number we get to is -1. Open circle, so it means not including, and we go up to infinity. So we have y is greater than -1, or -1 to infinity. All right, first 3 done. Next 3. Domain, again, is left to right. So as I'm going from the left, the first number I see is -3, open circle. Then I keep going, and I go up to number 4, open circle. So it's in between -3 and 4. So this is what we call a compound inequality. Remember, this is where you put the numbers on the outside, the X in the middle, and the arrows to the left. That's how I always taught you to do it. Okay, or -3 to 4, and both parentheses because it's open. Okay, down to up. So as I'm going up, I see -1, and it goes up to 4. So between -1 and 4. And this time, make sure it does say Y. Okay, just to remind you, this way is, can you see this? This way is set builder, and this way is interval notation. All right, next, left to right. So left, we start at -3, and we keep going to the right, and we go to 2. That is closed, that is open, okay? So it's going to be another compound. So between -3 and 2, X in the middle, arrows to the left, this one has to be filled in. Or bracket if it's filled in. Remember, you really just need to write it one way. Okay, range down to up. So again, sorry, it didn't really print that well. So the lowest number is 6. That's an open circle. The highest number is this dot right here, which is 2, and that is a closed dot. Okay, so you're between -5 and 2. So -5 and 2. Okay, Y in the middle, arrows to the left. -5 is open, but 2 is closed. So -5 is less than Y, which is less than or equal to 2. Or we have a, oops, sorry about that. We have an open on -5, and then we're going to have a, so open parentheses on -5, and then 2 will be our brackets because it's closed. All right, domain left to right. So this is our absolute value. This keeps going to the left, keeps going to the right, so it's going to be all reals. So XER, remember I didn't say before, but the R just means all reals. Okay, or negative infinity to positive infinity, and then all reals is how you say it. Okay, range down to up. So as I'm going up, the first Y value I get to is 0, and then the arrows means it keeps going up and up and up. Okay, so we're going to have Y is greater than or equal to 0, or this is a filled in dot, and parentheses. There you go, because filled in dot, and then infinity is always parentheses. All right, first side done. All right, second side, basically, it's going to be the same exact thing. I guess it's going to be a little bit more difficult because of the fact that they don't give you the pictures to look at. So we kind of have to create our own pictures. So turn on your calculators, go to Y equals, and we have x squared minus 4. Now, we should already know what these look like. You should know that this is a parabola. And let me put this in standard. You know this is a parabola, and the -4 does mean 4 units down. So 1, 2, 3, 4 from 0, 0. Okay, so we're going to try and draw this. And you know I'm not the best drawer, so just bear with me. Okay, so let's see. So we have our X and we have our Y. This is going to be a quadratic. We know it's a quadratic because of the X squared. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll just kind of sketch it, and it'll look like this. So we have f of x equals x squared minus 4. So remember the -4, that meant down 4, okay? All right, so for domain, that's left to right, okay? So left to right, just like the one on the front, these keep going to the left, these keep going to the right. So it's going to be all reals. So XER, or negative infinity to positive infinity, or obviously you can say all reals. Okay, for the range, so down to up, so it only goes as far as -4, so it's -4 to infinity. Don't forget to put your Y. So Y is greater than or equal to -4, or this would be a bracket, and there we go. First one's done. All right, next one, number 8. So this is our square root. So that's second x squared, x, and then a +2 on the outside. So when you graph it, this is the one like the parabola, like only half of it, like on its side. That's what this one looks like. All right, so let's try and draw this one. So this is going to be the square root graph. And it's 2 up, and it kind of curves like this. So here's my x, here's my y. And this is g of x equals radical x plus 2. So again, the +2 means 2 units up. And then just remember that the radicand for square root, so that's like the number underneath the radical, can't be negative. Okay, if you go and I show you the table, you're going to see these errors. That means no good. So you wouldn't be, you wouldn't be writing any of those numbers down. Okay. You would only copy the positives because you can't take the square root of a negative number. We know that. So radicands can't be negative. Okay, so for the domain, left to right, our first number starts, x value starts at 0 and it goes to infinity. And that should make sense. Okay, let me just write this really quick. 0 to infinity. That should make sense because in class, I would always make you take what's underneath here and make it greater than or equal to 0 because, again, you can't have negative radicands. So it makes sense that this is what's graphed for our domain. Okay, range down to up. So the first number it hits is positive 2, and then it goes up to infinity. So y is greater than or equal to positive 2, or 2, and then again, don't forget this has to be in numerical order. Like you could not have the infinity first. The 2 has to come first. Okay, done. Next one. Okay, so to get these symbols in the calculator, just in case you forgot, you're going to press math, and then I believe it's number 4. Let's check on that. So you're going to press the math button, and then you're going to go down, yep, to number 4. Let me just show what that looks like. So 4 is going to look like something like that. Okay, and that's going to be our cube root. Oops, that's going to be our cube root. There we go, of x. Graph it. So cube root looks like this. It's kind of like basically a sideways parabola, if you can imagine that. And then this piece is like reflected over this side, or it's brought to this side. So it's like this little sideways S. All right, so let's try and draw that. So this one's going to be cube root. Hopefully my drawings have not been too horrible. All right, we're going to go this way, and we're going to go this way. That looks good enough. And this one is h of x equals the cube root of x. Okay, so for domain is left to right. So this one shouldn't be too bad. Left meaning all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So it's going to be all reals. Okay, so I have x, e, r, or positive, negative infinity to positive infinity. Can't switch the order. And again, that's all reals. And then for our range down to up. So as these are going out, this is going down and this is going up. So again, it's actually the same exact thing. The only difference when you write it, make sure that you write it with the y. So negative infinity to positive infinity. And this is also all reals. Okay, done. Oops. Make that a little higher. Okay. Okay, number 10. So number 10 is absolute value. So on the calculator, in order to get those buttons, you're going to press the math button. Then you're going to move over and press number 1, which is ABS with the parentheses. Okay, so we're going to go on the calculator, -2, and that was math. Move over to NUM and press number 1. Put an X there, and we're going to graph it. And we know it should be a V, right? Because value begins with a V, so that's how we know it's a V. Notice it is upside down, and that's because the negative on the outside, so you should know that. And also, it's a little bit more narrow, and you also learn that any coefficient bigger than 1 is going to be narrow, any decimal is going to be wider. So that's what the graph looks like. Okay, so we're going to do absolute value on this one. And this one is going to be an upside down V, x, y, and this is j of x equals -2x. And just a little bit of notes. The negative, that's going to be, actually, let me just move this line up a little bit so I can just write in this section for you. Okay. Here we go. All right, so the negative, don't forget that means reflected in the x-axis. And then the 2 on the outside, which is separate from the negative, the 2 on the outside is narrower by a scale factor of 2. All right, so let's do our domain and our range. Okay, so from left to right, this as it's going down is going out, so this going down, so it's all reals. So we have XER, or -infinity to +infinity. You can write all reals. Okay, now range is down to up, so be careful. So down, so starting here, that means negative infinity. Those keep going and going and going in the negative direction. And it goes up until it hits 0. So negative infinity up until 0. So these y values are less than or equal to 0. So that's a tricky one. And then again, numerical order. So negative infinity has to come first with the parentheses, and then 0 with the bracket has to come next. All right, moving right along. Okay, next one, this is our cubed. So let's put this in the calculator. So just x to the third power is all you have to do. Let's see what that one looks like. All right, so it's kind of like the inverse of this one over here. This one goes left to right, and this one goes up and down. Again, this is like if you saw the parabola, and we just took this side and reflecting it down over the x-axis. So that's what this one looks like. So let's draw this. Okay, so this is called a cubic graph, and we have our x, we have our y, and then it's going to look like this. And this is going to be k of x equals x to the third. Okay, left to right, left to right. Oh, let me go back and highlight all of these so you can see that. Okay, so left to right, this is going all the way to the left, all the way to the right. So that's going to be XER, or negative infinity to positive infinity. Again, all reals. And then my range, let me go and highlight all of these so you know which ones correspond. Down to up, okay? So down meaning negative infinity to positive infinity. So same exact thing as the other one. Just again, be careful. If you're gonna write it this way, step builder, make sure you have the y. Okay, negative infinity to positive infinity, again, can be all reals. All right, and we got one more to go, almost done. Okay, so this one is going to be our exponential. Basically, you know by looking at that 2, that's going to mean exponential growth because it's bigger than 1. And specifically, you should know that it doubles because, well, because it is 2. Okay, so this is going to be an exponential graph. Okay, let me graph it. And let's see what this looks like. But in our mind, we should kind of already know what it looks like. So 2 to the x, you will see that growth. You will see the numbers double. Well, you don't really see them doubling. But remember, this only stays in the first and second quadrant. This is going to get closer and closer and closer to 0. But it's actually never going to be equal to it. Because this is, you know, your parent function. It's never actually going to be equal to 0. So let's draw that. And your y-intercept, remember, most of these have a... Like we go back to number 7, it's down 4 from 0, 0. If we do, so 0, 0, meaning that is your y-intercepts. This one, 2 units up from 0, 0. Okay, so everything is usually 0, 0, except for the exponential. Exponential is always going to have a y-intercept of 0, 1. So hopefully you remember that. Okay, so let's try to draw this. So we have this, and then it's going to come close to this x value, x-axis, but never actually go below it. All right, that's not bad. So we have m of x equals 2 to the x. Okay, we have our x, we have our y. I'm going to write down here only in quadrant 1 and 2 because that's really important to know. This right here, again, is your y-intercept. So this is the only one that doesn't have a y-intercept of 0, 0. I think almost every single other one has 0, 0. All right, so we said exponential growth. So let's do our domain. So domain is left to right. So left to right, this means going to the left, going to the right. So that's going to be all reals. So we're going to have XER, or negative infinity to positive infinity. And again, this is all reals. All right, so for this one, down to up. So remember, as this is coming out, it's not going to negative infinity. It's hugging along the x-axis, okay? So it's getting closer and closer and closer to 0, but never actually equaling 0. This way, though, does mean positive infinity. Okay, so these are going to be y values that have to be greater than 0. And it's important that you put greater than 0 because it never equals 0 when, we'll say when it is a parent function, because that's a parent function. When it is a parent function. Okay, so this would be 0 to infinity. Make sure that you, again, have that parentheses and not the brace or the bracket because it's not equal. So, all right, hopefully you guys did okay with that. Hopefully you remembered a lot of it. Hopefully it was not too bad. Again, you'll definitely have to know this for high school. So it's definitely a good thing to go over. So please make sure you post this on Google Classroom for me so you get the credit. And if you have any questions at all, please reach out to me. All right, have a wonderful day. Take care.